little at a time till you get it where you want it. As you can see, we have the exhaust all on. I've got to finish painting it. I had to make a modification up in here, and I still need to, I gotta still finish welding across the bottom. But I'm gonna finish this off first. I was waiting for my air compressor to pump up so I can get my lift up higher in the air, don't you know. So we'll keep whittling away at this till we get it right where we want it. And then once I get it whittled out, then I can finish off the edges using a Dremel tool of sorts. That's Dremel in a generic sense. This is not thin sheet metal on these hoods, which is a good thing, I guess. But it doesn't make it an easy cutting it with a pair of case nips. This doesn't have to be super fancy. It just has to be functional. This machine's going to probably be beaten up pretty well in the process of being used. We'll trim that off afterwards. Let's try it again. That'll work. I've also contemplated not putting the hood on it at all. I guess the only reason I'm thinking about putting it, keeping it on, is I'm going to use this as a brush hog, whatever you want to call it, and so to keep stuff off of the motor. Because otherwise, if I wasn't going to be using it for that, I think what I would do is take this off and just put a radiator stay rod, because there's no radiator on this, but you know, like the old time hot rods used to have. I'll put a picture in here so you see what I mean. Alright, well that's good. Now I think I can raise the lift up. Gotta make sure I don't raise it up so high. I guess I better put this down. Another modification that I think I'm going to be making on this is that I'm going to move the mower deck out from underneath, because I noticed in doing some investigations that most bush hogs have the deck out in front. So I think probably that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to end up taking the mower deck and putting it out front here, and I'm going to cut the front of it out so it'll have clear access for the bushes and small saplings that I want to cut with it. So that's going to take a little bit of doing to get it hanging off the front of this frame. We'll see how it goes. Part of it will be supported by the wheels that we'll put on it, so that it'll kind of bounce along as it goes, you know what I mean? So, but we got to get this part done first here. Yeah, let me see. I need to hold that up there. What do you guys want to come hold this while I finish welding it? How tall does it got to be? Hasn't got to be real tall. Maybe this piece of exhaust pipe will work, hey? will, maybe it won't. Here we go. That'll hold it right there. Okay, so I'll get my helmet on, turn the welder back up, and we'll finish tacking this muffler on. We would have made more progress. Whoa! We would have made more progress on this project, but I'm waiting on parts for it. The pulley, the proper pulley for the drive came in today. I'm waiting on the belt, and what is the other thing I'm waiting on? Well, the muffler came in yesterday, so I guess the only thing I'm waiting on now is the belt. When we get this exhaust on here, then we can fire it up and see what it sounds like. Okay, now I know I said that I was going to start the engine now that we got the muffler and exhaust on it, but I have the battery out of it right now, and that's so I could get at the drive belt to replace it and replace the idler pulley. And rather than putting that all back together just so I can start it and then taking the battery back out again, we need to go ahead and get some other stuff done. So part of the reason that this was dragging so hard and the rear wheels turning in opposite directions is the brake is frozen. So what I have to do is I have to take this unit here off and clean it all up so that it will free up the brakes. The brakes on this work into the transmission, not on the wheels themselves and not on the outside drive axles. So there's not room enough for both of us in here. So I'm going to take this off. I don't think I can get in here while you're in there. Well, I can tell you it's a 3/8 nut. And like I said, there's not room for both of us in here. So you have to take my word for it. I'll get it off and then we'll look at it on the bench together. How's that? Okay, so here are the brake components that came off the side of the transmission that I had pointed out to you earlier. Now, if you look over here, let me back you out. Remember, if I turn one wheel, the other wheel goes the opposite direction, right? See that? They still do. But now, and I couldn't do this before, now I can turn both of them forward and they are free to go. Let me see if I have this in neutral. I may not even have it in neutral. It's hard to tell because I have the shift linkage disconnected so that I could get the starter, the belt out. But as you can see, the wheels turn forward now, so it will roll. Okay, so now we need to work on getting these parts cleaned up. And the most important part is this here, although they all work together. This is actually the brake caliper, if you want to call it that. And this lever here is what actuates the brakes, and as you can see, it's not doing real good. And down inside here, see there's two little buttons in there, and when this turns, it's supposed to push those in and let them slide back out. Well, they're stuck in place. And what goes inside there is these brake pads, which you could see are pretty dirty. So we're going to take this apart, get these things cleaned out and lubricated so that they'll work. And this is our disc yeah, this breaks. This is our disc. It needs to be cleaned up too. So I'll get doing that stuff and I'll bring you back. A little WD-40 action going on here. Ooh, that one is solid. Oops, that one dropped through. That's a good thing. We can clean that one up now. There's your manual piston. Pretty dirty and grungy. It's going. There it goes. It's gone on the floor somewhere. And there's the other one. Yep, rusted pretty good. So I'll clean them up and I'll finish cleaning up our caliper, that's what we'll call it, and we'll assemble it back together. Now we'll put these back together and we'll use anti-seize compound, which is a combination of a grease and I think it's aluminized, but it'll help these, keep these from getting seized in again, because these are actually steel and our caliper per se is aluminum. If I had my sandblaster set up, which I don't yet, I would put this in the sandblasted cabinet. You can see that there were all kinds of bugs and looks like maybe some mud wasps got down in there too. A little soupy doopy. Also known as anti-seize. And then we'll just insert it here. And we'll run it back and forth a couple of times. And we'll wipe the excess off. And then we put our brake shoe right down in there, just like that. And so when The lever is twisted, which I can't show you that at the moment because I just painted it. It'll push that out like that to engage the brakes. And the disc runs in there like that. And you have the other side is actually on the transmission. There is the inside right on the transmission. I've got to clean all that area off, and you see the rectangle there. That is where the inside brake pad goes. And that hook you see just above, that's the there's a big spring that hooks on the end of the brake lever, and that's what pulls when you step on the brake or when you pull on the shift handle all the way back to the brake in park. So I got to clean all that mess up in there too before we put her back together.